Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I must admit I would have liked to come back with another hotel visit. This unfortunately was not possible because most of the smaller hotels and the hotels that I would have liked to stay in are at the moment shut, or they're not taking any new bookings because of COVID. So I thought I should use this time to do something that I should have done to start with, and I'm talking about the top 10 most haunted hotels in England. This will include the 3 hotels that I've already visited and the next 7 that I plan on going. So what you should do right now is take that subscribe button and smash it so you can follow me in the next 7 hotels. See you in a bit. Right in the middle of the high street, in the small village of Leamington, the Angel and Blue Pig is an ideal place for those looking for a jumping off point for the New Forest. Built in the 13th century, former coaching inn is steeped in history and apparently is full of ghosts. The most well known is that of a coach driver who peers through the kitchen windows. Then there's the apparition of a tall naval officer. Word has it he was waiting for a disciplinary inquiry when he shot himself. The ghost of a girl in a white dress is said to be that of a former cleaner at the inn. But perhaps the strangest story is that several guests have heard piano music in the middle of the night, but the inn's old piano was removed years ago and there isn't another one in the building. And if you don't experience ghostly going-ons, step outside where you might see the dark figures shrouded by the sea mist. They're thought to be the spirits of officers who died on the mudflats chasing smugglers. Once a coaching inn, the 400-year-old Swan Hotel is said to be haunted by a number of apparitions, most notably a bride known as the White Lady, said to be the ghost of a jilted bride who supposedly hung herself at the hotel. One of the chefs at the Swan was reported to be disrupted by the White Lady so much that he actually quit his job at the hotel. With stories of mysterious tunnels linking the vast cellars of the Swan Hotel with St. Mary's Church and Stafford Castle, the hotel continues to intrigue visitors and locals alike. Amongst these stories, there is one of a pool that is said to have once stood on the site of the hotel. Women charged with witchcraft were drowned in this pool, with the storytellers claiming that this is the reason why the hotel is haunted today. If that's not spooky enough, the Swan also featured a priest hall from the time of Jacobite rebellion. When it was excavated, bottles and human bones were discovered, remnants perhaps of the last desperate occupant. The Eclipse Inn dates from the 1500s, and over the past centuries the building has had many uses, including a rectory, private residence, ale house, and from the 19th century an inn. A grey lady has reputedly been seen several times in one of the corridors upstairs, and this apparition is said to be Dame Alice Lisle of Moore's Court. Lady Lisle was executed on the 2nd of September 1685 in Winchester's marketplace for harbouring traitors following the failed Monmouth rebellion. Originally sentenced to being burnt at the stake, King James II commuted the sentence to beheading after she made a personal appeal to him. In her final hours, Dame Alice Lisle walked into the building and spent her last night praying before she stepped out from an upper window of the Eclipse onto a hastily constructed scaffold where she was beheaded. The Great Lady apparently still haunts the corridors, especially in the vicinity of the room where Alice spent her last night. The story of the running horse dates back to the 1400s when the pub was built on land belonging to the church. Former owners of the running horse have reported all sorts of eerie happenings within the pub's 4 walls. The feeling of being watched, strange banging noises, sudden temperature drops, and the sound of phantom footsteps walking around the pub are just some of the weird events which have happened within the pub. The pet dog of a former landlord outright refused to go into an upstairs room at the front of the building even after being coaxed with food. The pub's cellar is said to have an oppressive atmosphere. After cleaning the cellar's floor one day, the landlady was shocked to discover that a 19th century woman's silver bracelet had suddenly appeared in the middle of it. Recently, members of staff at the pub have reported seeing strange shadows in the upstairs hallway and finding doors have either been opened or closed on their own accord. One thing is for sure, the running horse is definitely a must-visit destination for everyone who enjoys spending the night in a place that is engulfed in history. The Liverpool landmark, once hailed as Britain's most haunted hotel, dates back to 1914 and has been linked with ghostly behavior. Handprints, noises in the night, and actual ghosts are just some of the spooky incidents guests staying at the Adelphi Hotel have claimed to have seen over the years. The Adelphi has been the location for numerous ghost hunts and ghost walks and is a favorite spot of many local paranormal groups. Some guests have reported seeing the ghost of a man known as George standing next to their bed during the night. Other guests have reported that the third floor of the hotel in particular is haunted. Some have reported falling violently ill during their stay, while others have reported feeling watched, and others have mentioned seeing someone standing by the side of their bed. There have been many ghosts connected to the hotel over the years. Some of them are thought to be Raymond Brown, a 15-year-old page boy who died after becoming trapped in the baggage room lift of the Adelphi Hotel in August 1961. His ghost, still dressed in his uniform and cap, has reportedly picked up the luggage of guests and carried it off to various rooms and corridors before just vanishing into thin air. An unknown whistler in the lift of the hotel who often breathes down guests' neck and sometimes even touches them on the shoulder. The famous George, a man in a tuxedo with a toothbrush mustache who calls to members of the public from a certain window on the Brownlow hillside of the hotel. He took his own life at the Adelphi sometimes in the 1930s. One thing is certain, with so many ghost stories and eerie happenings connected to this hotel, the Adelphi will always have a place in England's top 10 most haunted hotels. Pubs don't get much spookier than Cornwall's Jamaica Inn. The old coaching house and smugglers' hangout, in the heart of wild and windswept Bodmin Moor, has a welcoming but eerie air about it and regularly appears in the top 10 of the UK's most haunted lists. People have been reporting ghostly events in and around the 18th century inn for more than 100 years. The list of otherworldly sightings, weird atmospheres, unexplained noises and creepy incidents keeps on growing. Many myths and legends surround this historic site, where author Daphne du Maurier came for help after getting lost on the misty moors on horseback. Her experience inspired her to write her dark 1936 novel Jamaica Inn and the Alfred Hitchcock film adaptation that followed 3 years later. Stories of ghosts and poltergeist activity have blossomed ever since, and Jamaica Inn is now a prime destination for ghost hunters from all over the world. Sightings have been made all over the property, especially the oldest upstairs bedrooms, but also in the new buildings constructed on the site in the 1980s. Close to the Thames walking path, in Pangbourne, the George Hotel is a charming 13th century hotel that is said to be haunted by the vengeful ghost of Betty Price, a woman accused of witchcraft and executed in the early years of the 17th century. Historical records show that as far back as 1293, an inn has always stood on the grounds where the George Hotel now sits. It wasn't until the 16th century when the building was remodeled and called the George Inn. According to the legend, the cellar of the George Hotel flooded after several days of rainfall caused the Thames to overflow. When the owners ventured into the watery depths of the cellars to make repairs, they discovered a disturbing scene. They found a barely recognizable woman hiding in the cellar and surviving on the rats that lived in the basement. She was none other than Betty Price, a local witch, allegedly in league with the devil and a practitioner of black magic. In England in 1603, witchcraft was a serious offense that carried with it a strict penalty: death by hanging. Price was taken into custody and put on trial for witchcraft. As expected, she was found guilty and sentenced to death. But before good old Betty was dispatched into the great beyond, she placed a curse on her captors and the building. Following her death, her captors all perished under mysterious circumstances, and as far for the building, Betty would have her revenge. From the beginning of the 13th century, an inn originally stood on the site of the King's Arms Hotel. One of the inn's most famous guests was none other than Henry VIII, who is actually recorded as having stayed at the inn. The existing 17th century premises has played host to some very famous guests during the years, names that include the likes of Elizabeth I and Tsar Peter the Great from Russia. Funny enough, the Tsar has left apparently without settling his hotel bill. Also, the sound of boots echoing around the rooms has been reported. This is often accompanied with an early morning sound of clothing being removed, as if undressing and preparing for bed. Locally, some may say that this might be the spirit of the Tsar himself. Make sure you settle your bill or he might be following you home. The Angel Hotel is rumored to be haunted by several ghosts, with nuns reportedly seen walking down the staircases and a 19th century Eastern European soldier staring at a couple out of their room's mirror for so long the husband actually sketched a picture of it. The Angel's Hotel current building dates from 1527. The hotel stands on the site of Whitefriars Monastery, the oldest part of the hotel dating from the 13th century. It is also said that some of the oak timbers used in the construction of the building came from old ships at Portsmouth. The old ship's timber are considered to be the reason many ghostly appearances of old sailors have been reported by guests. Rosette-recognized dining, affordable rooms and medieval architecture are not the only things going on in Rye's historical Mermaid Inn. Guests who check in at the centuries-old pub can expect to rub shoulders with some of its most colorful regulars, not all of whom are still belonging to the land of the living. Some of these are specters from the Mermaid Inn's colorful past, an inland base for 18th century smugglers, a refuge for Catholic priests fleeing the Reformation. It is not surprising then that the pub has its fair share of ghosts. Though there have been incidents throughout the building, many of the sightings are confined to 6 of its 32 rooms. In room 16, there are reports of guests waking up to a duel being fought by the bedside. The combatants, both of whom are dressed in doublets and hose, fight to the death with rapiers, with the loser thrown down a secret staircase. Other guests in room 1 have reported seeing a lady in white sat by the fireplace. And despite the lack of pipes or windows nearby, guests have laid their clothes on the chairs overnight, only to find them soaking wet when the morning came. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I must admit, some of the hotels look amazing and I'm really excited about staying in them whenever that will be possible. Hopefully this pandemic won't last for much longer and life will turn back to normal, or whatever normal will be nowadays, because I'm sure it's not going to be the normal we remember. Until then, I would like to say thank you for watching. Please hit that subscribe button and hopefully I will see you all soon. I'm Andre and I'll see you soon.